Welcome back to the show. While many of us make resolutions to better ourselves, our first guest says it's also a good time to evaluate the regrets that one might have. Here with some ideas on how to really start living a healthier life, both mentally and physically, as fitness expert Jenny Evans. Looking great, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
This is so important to really set the stage and start the year out right. Where do we begin with this?
Yeah. So oftentimes resolutions have to do with how am I going to eat differently or exercise differently. On the internet, I came across this book that was written by a woman who worked in hospice care all her life, and she wrote the top 5 regrets of the dying. And as I was looking through this list, I thought these are the big things that we should be focusing on a regular basis.
Well, let's get into it. The first one we're going to talk about is get off the treadmill.
I know, I bet you guys thought I was going to be like, get on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Okay, the #1 regret of the dying was they wished they did not work so hard and so long. They realized they had missed huge chunks of their children's childhood. They missed the connection with their partner. So figuring out, you know, there's ways to work smarter instead of harder. That you might be in the office for 10 or 12 hours, but of that 10 or 12 hours, how often are you multitasking or taking time to surf the internet? But if you're really focused and you stop multitasking, you can get a lot more work done in a shorter period of time. And also, a lot of times we work is so that we can have money, and then we start buying these toys and big houses and big cars, and then all of a sudden you become a slave to your toys, so that you have to work more to be able to pay these things off. Of really asking yourself, what really makes me happy? Is it money, or is it experiences, relationships?
It's interesting what you're saying, because during the break I read Dan Buettner's book about happiness in the blue zones. The people who are the most happy, they tend to not have the biggest house on the street, for instance. That's one of the things there. Let's talk about get off the sidelines.
Okay. What people realize at the end of their lives is that they didn't even accomplish close to half of the goals that they had set for themselves, and they had to die knowing that it was because of the choices they either did or didn't make. My partner and I actually sat down. We have a book called 100 Things to Do Before We Die. We're not up to 100 yet, but we set a goal to do at least one of those things every single year, because you can say, I want to do all these things and I'll get to them later, but who promised you tomorrow? I
like the idea of putting things in writing, indeed, because you have that to go to, and you're quite right. Who promises tomorrow will be even there? Well, we're a very high-tech time. Get off your phone and computer. People That's a hard one.
It is, because it's all about habit and routine, I really believe. What people realized at the end is it's easy to let a busy lifestyle get in the way of relationships and seeing your friends and family as often as they should, but they realized in the end, love and relationships, that's all you really have. And I know that social media and things like that can allow us to connect more often, but I think they're just these little pings that are really superficial, and that we have less of this like real-time, face-to-face deep connections.
So have FaceTime more than, you know, Facebooking.
Totally. And that's the thing too, is like when you're with somebody, how often are you still doing this? What's the message you're sending to that person?
That they're unimportant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Finally, choose happiness.
People realized at the end that happiness in their life really was a choice, and that they had just gotten into these habits and routines, and sometimes even let fear of change stop them from really being happy. So my partner and I have actually dubbed 2012 the year of hilarity, because I realized like we had just gone into the routine of like just doing dumb little things that make you laugh. You know, start and or end each day with 5 things that you're grateful for. It's so easy to focus on the negative and what's not working yet. Look at all the great things that are happening for you.
Gratitude journals, those are very important.
And exercise does improve mood. I have to put it in there. I couldn't let it go.
Thank you. All the best to you. For more details on any of the tips that Jenny has shared with us this morning, head over to our show page at care11.com. We're under the news link.